This could be a really bad night for United.
Is Gary Neville back? Gary, can I ask where you are right now, actually?
I'm in a prison cell.
So we're after Man United team. Make sure there's no leaks.
No.
Right. Time for our predictions then. Let's remind you all and remind them what they thought was going to happen. This was from August when they decided the champions would be, Jamie, Manchester City. Gary said Arsenal.
Forest will go down.
Second to fourth. Gary's got Manchester United in there, as you can see, in third place in the league, and Jamie had them just outside, top five. And Gary had Liverpool in fifth position. You went for West Ham as your European contender.
Well, he did spend more money than anybody in Europe, you know, and he did have a manager who'd managed Spain and Real Madrid, and I thought he'd have a decent season.
Gary, are you quite proud of your predictions so far from the start of the season?
Yeah, the only one that's let me down is United, to be honest with you. Everything else is spot on. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool, I thought that they would have a real hangover after Jurgen Klopp leaving, and that's why you'll see I've corrected that in a bit with Arne Slot's been the manager of the season so far. I mean, Nuno obviously is a huge contender, but I did feel that Liverpool would drop off, and for them to be so far in front and now favourites for the title is an unbelievable performance, and I didn't expect that.
We're going to see each other on Sunday for Liverpool Manchester United. Do you remember you had a bet with me at the start of the season? Can you make that out at the weekend for charity?
Yeah, I'll pay early. I'll be like the bookmaker that used to pay out on United at Christmas.
Yeah.
Right, let's fast forward then to their predictions. We've given them the chance to amend what they decided at the start of the season, or indeed to stick with it. So let's have a look then. Champions, Jamie has boldly gone for Liverpool, who are 8 points clear, and Gary, you are steadfastly sticking with Arsenal. Tell us why.
I think that sometimes to go through the pain. Look, Liverpool are massive favourites and they're in great form, but there's still a long way to go. Arsenal have been through the mill the last couple of years. They've sort of gone to the wire, and sometimes when you win your first title, it doesn't happen in sometimes the most expected way, and things can happen. I mean, the moment Liverpool's to lose.
Sorry, Gary. What could derail Liverpool?
Yeah, Van Dijk. I mean, that's the thing that, to be fair, I think sticks out for me, that Van Dijk got injured, and then I think it would be a completely different story. That 6 points that Arsenal can go to, I think, in a couple of days' time, which, you know, could happen, then I think would dwindle away quite quickly if Virgil van Dijk, he's such an immense player for them. I think they've proven they can live without Alisson, who I think was equally as important maybe a couple of years ago, but I think now with Carragher backing him up, then they've got that covered. I think up front they've got great options. Salah would be a big blow, he's just world class, but they've got Jota, Diaz, Gakpo, Nunez. And the thing about Liverpool at the moment is, just set it up on the podcast up there, is that when each of them score, they look as happy for each other. And that's a worrying sign for the rest. They all look like they've got buying into each other. And the fact that I think when you see someone score a goal, Salah looks happy when Diaz scores, and vice versa. It looks like they've got something really going up there between them as a group of players.
So you're not taking into account Saka's injury?
Yeah, I mean, look, things are going against Arsenal at this moment in time, and like you say, they're hanging in there, but they're the only team that can take it off Liverpool. I think I'm surprised about Chelsea's defeats in the last couple of games, but I'd never thought they would win the title this season. I think it's brilliant doing what they're doing, but I just think that Arsenal, they have got a resilience to them. They have got a back four that can hold it together and I think get through games, and I do think they'll attack better in the next part of the season. So I think they'll hang in there, and if they can just get close towards the end, it could be that they could hunt Liverpool down. That's what I'm hoping for.
Let's go second to fourth and see if Manchester United are still in Gary's top four predictions. They've slipped out. You've got Liverpool in second place, Gary, followed by Chelsea and Manchester City. In fact, you've all got the same top four, but in a slightly different order. So let's move on to top five. You've gone for Newcastle, Jamie, and Aston Villa for Gary. Given Gary from Newcastle tonight, would you stick with Villa?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Villa. I think that Unai Emery just has a habit. I think when the Champions League maybe, I think they'll go out obviously at some point, February, March. is what I would predict. I hope they don't. I hope they go all the way and win it. But if they basically sort of drop out of it in February, March, I just think he's the type, Unai Emery, that will get them, really sort of cracking towards the end of the season. I think they'll finish strong, and I think they'll get into that 5th spot.
I just fancy Newcastle. They don't have the European situation. They could go a little bit further in the Carabao Cup. But I just look at Villa. They just can't quite get going. They'll win again, and losing tonight. It feels like it's happened a lot this season, where they've been in front of home and being pegged back and draw games that they should have won. And it just looks to me like Newcastle just getting into a real run of form. And when I look at that midfield and look at Isak up front, it's looking pretty special.
We were talking earlier about Nottingham Forest and what chance they had of clinging on to a Champions League football position. As you can see, neither have got them in their top 5 for Champions League, but both have got them finishing 6th place, which would be European football. And I suppose, Jamie, it's still an extraordinary achievement, given where they've come from.
Yeah, it would be. I think most people, even Nottingham Forest, would expect, that the people we've got in the top 4 to finish above them. Newcastle winning tonight obviously closes that gap. But in terms of other teams who might think they have a chance, in terms of, we've spoken about Fulham and Bournemouth, Aston Villa drop points tonight. I think Nottingham Forest have got a sizable lead right now with only half a season to go. And if they can get anywhere near what they've done, they can make it really difficult for those teams.
So I'm wondering where Man United are. I'm wondering if they could be in this final reveal.
Oh, Dave. Are we getting an apology to Nottingham Forest fans for the fact that...
OK. Let's see, Gary. Come on. Why do you think that they need an apology?
Well, Carragher had them going down at the start of the season. Going down is spectacular.
Whoa. I thought the apology was for the carry-on over him with Mark Clattenburg last season. And all that type of stuff. You had to apologise to the club, didn't you?
We don't need to revisit that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll get
I'll put you on the back foot. You look a little bit stunned. Let's go to the relegation.
My lawyers aren't present. My lawyers aren't present at this moment in time.
This is what happens when you bring Neville and Carragher together. You always end up regretting it. Right, so relegated then. We don't have Manchester United there either, but we've got the promoted 3 in both. OK, so Gary, let me come to you. If one of those was to escape, Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester, who do you think it would have the best chance of climbing out of that?
Between Ipswich and Leicester, obviously, I'm just trying to think. Massive win for Ipswich against Chelsea tonight, and something like that started to happen, and the atmosphere down there, that could become quite special. I was at Leicester yesterday. I actually thought they played quite well against Manchester City and had moments in the game. So I'd like them both to stay up, but they obviously won't. I don't think that's the issue. I'll go just Leicester, just a bit more sort of experience of the league. I'll go Leicester if there's one team going to get out of it.
You agree, Jamie?
I'm not sure. I've been really worried for Leicester since Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, even though some of the results have been really good. And Gary's right, the performance was really good against Man City. I actually thought that was more of a worry for Man City going forward, really, because I think Leicester have given up a lot of opportunities, shots, big chances in all the games they've played in, really, bar the Manchester City one. And I think because Leicester expect to stay up, at times there can maybe be a bit of negativity. They've already changed the manager because they expect to stay up. Ipswich have only won their 2nd game of the season tonight, but there's still that feel-good factor. Or the 3rd, sorry.
First home game,
sorry. But there's still that feel-good factor. If they have a few bad results, they're not going to get too down on themselves. They're not going to be too negative. Whereas I feel at Leicester, I think the crowd can become a little bit negative.
The darts is all of the season so far. So let's have a look at the agreed faces, because there's actually quite a lot of common ground for you both. And Virgil van Dijk, you've already mentioned, Gary, who has just been in sensational form at the back for Liverpool. But there are 3 Liverpool players. And interesting that Gravenberch, at the start of the season, you wouldn't have predicted that, would you? To be in the Team of the Year as a defensive midfield player.
I think he has been the biggest surprise, if you like, but in a really good way this season. Because for me, when he came in last season, I seen him as a number 8, almost like a floating attacking midfield player who was a little bit of nothing. If I'm being totally honest, to think he's now become one of the most disciplined midfield players in the Premier League right now. He's playing such a vital role in protecting a back 4. I think he's been an absolute revelation.
And Gary, I think a lot of people were, questioning the money paid for Caicedo with some of his performances last season. I'm presuming that if you were a doubter, you've been convinced by what you've seen so far.
Yeah, obviously he was fantastic at Brighton, then he came to Chelsea and he looked He looked awful in a Chelsea shirt. That partnership with Enzo Fernandez in midfield just wasn't working at all. But he's been so much better this season, so much more settled. I think when he plays with Lavia, he plays well, but actually Enzo Fernandez has come back into the team in recent weeks as well, and he's looking even better with him. So, yeah, he looks like the player that they signed, and, he's been the outstanding player. I mean, there were a couple of other players that you could have thought. I mean, even McAllister, Declan Rice, obviously, you could have thought of as well. But, yeah, I thought Caicedo deserved to be in alongside Gravenberch. I agree with Carragher on Gravenberch. It's amazing what Arne Slot has gotten out of him.
I think Cole Palmer would be in most teams of the season so far. Matheus Cunha, though, Gary. Just I'll come to you on Matheus Cunha. He makes both your teams. People might be surprised with that, but why does he have to be in there?
I just think his numbers, his performance levels for a team that have been really badly struggling. Watched Wolves earlier on the season. I actually thought they were going to go down. I thought they were so bad. But he's a shining light, and to score those types of goals, similar with Wood up front, the reason that you put Wood up front is purely to score the kind of goals or that level of goals for a certain team who don't create the same amount of chances as maybe the top teams. That's why you put these players in, because their performance levels so far in this first few months of the season have been of the sort of best players in the league.
What were the other names you were wrestling with, Jamie?
I was deciding. I picked my team just before the game tonight, and you look at Isak's performance tonight. Now, listen, Isak's a better centre forward than Chris Wood, but the thing I would say about Chris Wood, it feels like he's been more consistent from the start of the season to now, whereas Isak's been absolutely out of this world probably in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. So that was my decision there. With Cunha on that side, what I would say is, when you look at Salah on this right side and probably Saka, and maybe at times Cole Palmer plays on that side, you feel like you've got 3 world-class players on that side. I actually don't think we've got that on the left side. I think Son's obviously dropped off. Anthony Gordon's probably not quite the same as he was last season. Gakpo and Diaz have been really good, been fantastic for them, but they've almost swapped positions at different times. We haven't got a Hazard or a Mane in the league, if you like, on that left side. So that's why I've gone for Cunha on that position. He plays almost like a floating role for Wolves behind the front and just veers to the left. So that's why I've put him in. And as Gary said, his numbers are fantastic.
And presumably Salah picks himself, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. What a performer. I mean, you're absolutely talking about the very best of the best. Someone who is... Just his fact he plays every single game. He just feels like he never misses a match. And he's just literally almost 8, 9 out of 10 every single match. He's one of the very best in the world, one of the best that the Premier League's ever had. And like I say, been doing it now for donkey's years, it feels like, and looks like he's getting better and better and getting more efficient. He hasn't maybe got that sort of same electric sort of pace that he maybe had 3 or 4 years ago, but he's in that moment in his career of complete and utter experience and comfort that he just knows exactly where he wants to be and sort of entered that next phase of his sort of football career and adapted to it. And he looks like he's taken his fitness levels onto a different level. He looks stronger, he looks leaner. Something's happened in his body. Just, it absolutely mesmerising what he's done. And, we're watching him for Liverpool yesterday. What he did for that first goal yesterday, I was watching that on my iPad on the way back from Leicester and Man City. I was like, oh my God, we're all in trouble here if he's starting to knock it through people's legs like that. It was absolutely amazing. You don't see stuff like that very often.
No, absolutely. And his numbers are just hitting extraordinary levels. Would he be your player of the season so far? Both of you? Yeah?
Yeah. I think, right now you look at him, I think we're seeing an all-time season. And listen, there was so many stats flying around on social media yesterday, and we knew we had to do something big on Mo Salah. So I thought, well, look, rather than the Premier League stuff was out there, I thought, what's the best season a Ronaldo or a Messi have had halfway through a season? We know their numbers for years were so great. But he's basically behind those two. But that's the best season they've ever had, is it?
I think we looked and saw that Ronaldo only once had beaten those numbers, and that was that extraordinary season 14-15. I think we found that Messi had done it twice.
That's pretty unbelievable. When we think of sort of the consistency of Ronaldo and Messi over a 10-year period at sort of Barcelona and Real Madrid, the fact Ronaldo's only beaten the numbers Mo Salah's getting now once. I couldn't believe that when we heard the stats, and Messi only twice, really. It just shows that we are... I'm not even sure of the exact figures, but I think of 3 or 4 times in the Premier League year. I think of Haaland a couple of years ago. I think of the season Henry got, I think, over 20 goals and 20 assists. I think of Luis Suarez under Brendan Rodgers, that one season where it was just off the scale. I think Shearer at Blackburn, where it felt like he scored. Well, you see the Suarez season there, sorry. But we could be seeing an absolute all-time sort of season that we never forget. Now, he had that. Is he actually on the list here again? But I think Mo Salah had that in his first season. But what I would say is on this show a few weeks ago when we talked about his comments after Southampton, I said he's in the top 5 players to ever play for Liverpool. I think if he takes Liverpool to a league title and he ends up with the Premier League, PFA Premier League Player of the Season, which if he wins it, will be the 3rd time he's won it, which has never happened before. No one's ever won that 3 times. If he does that, in the top 5, he's basically fighting with Kenny Dalglish and Steven Gerrard. It's a fight to see who is Liverpool's probably greatest ever player. If he can add that to what he's already done at Liverpool, he sort of leaves a Ian Rush or a Graham Souness actually behind and joins those two most Liverpool fans debate and argue about is the greatest player to ever play for Liverpool.
Where would he sit for you, Gary, if we were talking about the Premier League's all-time greatest attacking players? This is a debate we had here a couple of weeks ago.
No, I mean, he's getting to that level where he's going to be in the sort of, top 3, top 5, top 10, depending on what you think about other players. But it's staggering. You don't often see it. And like you say, it's the sort of robustness of him, the idea that a player can play on the wing, score goals, literally make goals, be there every single 3 days, never look like he's sort of, if you like, fading in games, never look like he's wavering. Ronaldo and Messi did it for sort of like 10, 12 years, and it was something that we all were like blown away by, one of the greatest things we've seen in all time, watching those two. And Salah, to be fair, sits there in 3rd on that table behind them. And, absolutely unbelievable level of performance, one of the best we have seen in the Premier League. And I think, to be fair, if Liverpool were to win the league this season and he was to get 2 titles, he's won the Champions League, then that's the type of thing that these types of great players do. They score and affect and impact big matches constantly. I don't know what year it was when he scored that goal against Manchester City, when Manchester City were at the best a few seasons ago, cutting in off the sort of right-hand side at Anfield. One of the best goals you'll ever see. You just don't score goals like that against the best opponents unless you're world class.
There is one theory, Jamie, that he's been driven by a hunger, potentially a hunger to win himself a new contract, but perhaps that desire, that hunger is coming from something else now. That is the desire to win a Ballon d'Or.
Well, I think Mo Salah has always seen himself, I wouldn't say as good as Messi and Ronaldo, but in that sort of stratosphere as one of the best players in the world. But he feels he's been unjustly sort of not given certain awards, and we talk about the Ballon d'Or. Now, I always think the Ballon d'Or, a lot of the time, revolves around a tournament. Sometimes, an international tournament, whoever wins it, the best player normally picks it up, or the Champions League winner. It's always difficult for Egypt to, I don't think they've won the African Nations Cup with Mo Salah, but obviously in a World Cup as well. The fact there's no tournament in the summer, if Liverpool were to win the league and go really close, get into maybe a Champions League final or win it, and the fact that sort of Mbappe at Real Madrid hasn't quite started as well as he would have liked, Haaland's probably had the one season that he's not at his best. I think those factors put together means this will be the best opportunity he's ever had of winning the Ballon d'Or. He's probably number 1 right now. If he replicates what he's done in the first half of the season, I think he wins the Ballon d'Or.
Right, back to our team, and we've showed you the collective picks. Let's go to Gary's reveal now for those disputed positions. I probably could have predicted that reaction. But
what are you laughing at?
How have you picked Vardy at left-back? He gives a goal away every game. Have you actually watched Man City?
Yeah, I watched him a few times this season. Yeah.
Well, obviously not enough. I mean, is he... What games have you watched?
No,
are you serious?
To be honest with you,
are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm serious. To be honest with you, left back I was struggling with badly. It's the position that, to be fair, I was most struggling with. No, I was. I mean, he scored 4 goals. He's always a threat. To be fair, he's been the one that's consistent. He's been the one that's consistently played, to be fair, out of City's play. And to be fair, I still think he's the left back that I would probably pick at this moment in time in the league if I was picking a team. If I was picking a team right now, and I was thinking about building a back 4, he'd be the player that I'd put in at left back. He's a goal threat. He does his job reasonably well at left back. City are giving goals well left, right and centre. I get that at the moment. It's not usual for them. It's not usual for him. But who are the other left backs in the league?
We're picking on the first half of the season, and he has given goals away. So why have you picked him?
Because I think he's the best left back in the league in the first half of the season still. All right, okay.
Go on.
I haven't watched him.
Well, if you've watched him, you wouldn't have picked him.
Go on, then. Who have you got, Messiah? Who have you got, Mr. Manager?
Well, you can come back in a second. We'll go to your centre-back, Saliba, ahead of Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, because he plays right centre-back and he's just, I think, edged it. I looked at the numbers this morning. It was one of those two, to be honest with you. Arsenal got a good defensive record. Saliba's been, I think, still, it's not been the best start to the season for Arsenal, but defensively they're still strong and he's still outstanding. So he was the obvious choice to play alongside Van Dijk. I think he is the second best centre-back in the league.
And you like creativity at right-back, Trent Alexander-Arnold?
To be honest with you, the more I watch him, I think his defending's improved a lot. I think he's got a better intensity to his defending. I'm not saying he's perfect. I don't think he ever will be, but I think he's got a far better attitude towards his defending right now than I've seen previously in sort of like, if like years going by. I think this last 12 months he's improved enormously. And then what he does on the ball, I have to say, I know that we've seen it now for a number of years, but you talk about Mo Salah in terms of what he produces on that right side for Liverpool, obviously in attacking sense, higher up the pitch. What Trent Alexander-Arnold produces consistently on a regular basis from right back is remarkable. It's just remarkable. And to be fair, yeah, he's my right back.
Matt Seltz tops the clean sheet count as well for Nottingham Forest. Don't think you're going to debate that too much, Jamie. So let's have a look at your 4 players that you went with. Gary, this is your opportunity to get involved here as well. OK, so his left back is Anthony Robinson at
What are your thoughts on him?
I like him. I considered, to be fair, Anthony Robinson. He wasn't someone I didn't consider. You know, I considered Lewis Hall. I looked at, a couple of other options, but there wasn't anybody that I was thinking.
So you weren't happy with the 7 assists from Robinson, playing for Fulham, getting forward in that position?
Well, sometimes as well, you watch more. Sometimes you watch teams more than you watch others, and you can look at stats all you like. Gvardiol, if you're looking at stats, Gvardiol scored 4 goals, and you just ignored him and laughed at me.
So you haven't watched him then?
No, I have. Yeah, I've watched Anthony Robinson when Fulham played, but I've not done a Fulham game live. So what I'm saying is, sometimes you have a bias towards teams that you watch live more.
You can play.
Can Sky Sports put Gary Neville on more Fulham games, please?
No, keep putting him on Fulham games.
You can play with your stupid machines all you like. Ola Reina right back, Milenkovic just inside. Talk to me about Milenkovic, Jamie.
Listen, he's like almost like the Van Dijk of Nottingham Forest, if you like. I mean, the one person I was thinking, I mean, you went for Saliba. It's a toss between Saliba and Gabriel for me. I was actually very close to putting Gabriel in for the defensive record, but also because he's almost the most talked about defender in the league now because of what he does at set pieces. So I was very close to putting him in. But I just feel what Nottingham Forest do defensively, a lot of it is about that. And I know Gary went for the goalkeeper, but I think the actual protection and what those defenders do in front of him. And Ola Reina, it was a